Joe Rogan is coming out and exposing Ellen's connection to Ghislaine Maxwell and how Ellen is worried now that there's talk of Ghislaine being released. Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer recently announced that Ghislaine is ready to name the people that were involved with Epstein in exchange for her release, and allegedly, Ellen knows her time is up.
But, you know, there's always that suspicion when you see someone on television that they're not really that way, because there's been, like Ellen, like the Ellen situation.
Yeah.
You know, people found out that Ellen was mean, and all these people came out and said, Ellen's actually a bitch. And everybody, whoa, I can't believe it. And she lost everything. She fell apart, disappeared, because people found out that this character that she was portraying in a half an hour on a television show is not really who she was.
Yeah.
You know, but I hadn't already known that, because I had a buddy who worked for her. And he was like, she's a monster.
Ever since the redacted version of the Epstein files was first released, there were reports that Epstein had been working with someone from within Hollywood to recruit child stars for his island. Hundreds of victims connected to Epstein and Ghislaine were discovered, but the name handing over these victims was always redacted. Now Joe Rogan, Ghislaine Maxwell, and even the victims themselves are coming forward and naming Ellen as this co-conspirator.
Her stories have changed so many times about what happens, when it happens, how it happens, with different versions. And each time she speaks, there's a different version.
Joe Rogan had friends who worked with Ellen, so he knew that Ellen's be kind persona was never real. Years before there were any allegations of abuse and harassment at Ellen's show, Joe knew it was only a matter of time before something came out. It was only a matter of time before Ellen's mask slipped, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now.
A lot of people saying that someone who seems so nice is not nice at all.
She doesn't seem nice, but that people have a very poor judge of character. She doesn't seem nice. It seems forced. People that are like that all the time, she doesn't seem nice. It's very forced. And whatever, you're allowed to be a bitch, right? You're allowed to be a bitch. You're allowed to be nasty to people. You're accomplished. You're a comedian. You did the whole thing. What you're not allowed to do is have a Guantanamo Bay situation in the backstage of your show where everybody's walking around afraid for their life, and it's like Abu Ghraib where they're hooked up to wires and they
dogs
have like
around them.
Yeah, she's got dogs and hoods. If an intern's late, they have a hood on. I don't support that. That's just me.
Yeah.
During the first release of the Epstein files, most of the emails related to Ellen had been heavily redacted. However, despite this, Ellen's name still came up hundreds of times across journal entries and even flight logs. These flight logs showed that Ellen was likely on Epstein's private jet, the Lolita Express. Now, Ghislaine is also here to corroborate these flight logs and reveal what Ellen and Epstein were actually discussing.
Ghislaine Maxwell is asking again for a federal judge to throw out her conviction and release her from prison. She wrote the request herself. New York prosecutors say her argument seems to overlap her original motion to dismiss. Maxwell is serving a 20-year sentence. She was a co-conspirator of the late offender Jeffrey Epstein. Maxwell's request comes amid reports that the Justice Department is considering a pardon for Maxwell. Today, Illinois Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy sent the Justice Department a letter saying he's disgusted by the reports if they're true. Krishnamurthy is demanding a full, renewed investigation into Epstein's trafficking network.
You don't end up in the Epstein files hundreds of times out of nowhere. Epstein only invited his richest and most powerful friends into his plane. Allegedly, the reason Epstein trusted Ellen was because Ellen could supply him with as many victims as he needed for his island.
The Epstein files reveal Ellen DeGeneres as, and I'm quoting this directly from the posts, Hollywood's most prolific that she consumed human flesh. Ellen DeGeneres is named in the Epstein documents, and that part is real. Her name appears in the broader index of over 300 high-profile individuals that show up across the investigative materials. You know, flight logs, communications, third-party interviews, peripheral records.
And so if I do, I don't want it to go to waste. Who will eat pizza if I... Jennifer? Yes? Harrison? Yes? Yes? Smart? All right. Too large? What do you think? I'm going to order some pizza. That's what I'll do.
Not only that, but Ellen was also using her show as a platform to normalize cannibalism and using human stem cells. In an episode with Sandra Bullock, Ellen and Sandra Bullock openly discussed her use of adrenochromes extracted from children and laughed about how it kept them young. How is this not a part of the Epstein agenda?
Okay, let's talk about this facial that you're obsessed with. How many, did you get the whole cast of Ocean's 8 to do
Not
this?
everybody.
Okay, good, smart ones.
Just those that I thought would appreciate it.
Okay, explain what it is.
Well, it's this way in which one forces through microneedling. It's like a little roller with these, some of you, I think many of you know it, and it pushes through the skin and ruptures the collagen and then boosts it. You look like a burn victim for a day, but then it pushes the
What are you pushing into the skin, Sandra?
Sarah?
Carrie? What are you pushing into the skin?
Well, you push in whatever the facialist would like to insert into your pores.
But what is it?
It is an extraction from a piece of skin that came from a young person far, far away, and they somehow figured out how to extract.
It's foreskin from a Korean baby.
As for why Ellen was even promoting stem cells, something that has absolutely nothing to do with morning TV, the reports from Epstein's emails show that Epstein was interested in using stem cells to stay young. These stem cells, however, have to be taken from children.
The child's half you're not going to get organ rejection. That's what Epstein was actually, one of his main businesses along with Peter Nygaard. Oh yeah, it's much worse than just, 14-year-old, 15-year-old girls. They want you to just stay in that area and never get down the rabbit hole. That's the entrance to the rabbit hole, is 14, 15-year-old girls. No, down in the rabbit hole. Down in the rabbit hole is women getting pregnant with the man's own baby so it doesn't get genetically rejected. Central African women, because they have dominant genes and the stem cells are about 100 times better. Just a fact for health effects. And then the woman has an abortion at 8 months. They suck the baby dry of its bone marrow, its blood, and in multiple transfusions, put it into the rich old men and rich old women. And that's what Peter Nygaard, that's public, by the way, and not public, Epstein did, though it's leaked. He was into cloning and hundreds of babies of his own and underground medical facilities at Zorro Ranch, and all these medical chairs, and all this stuff. Oh yeah, that's what they do.
The doctors who helped Epstein extract these stem cells have also been exposed with actual video footage to back up the claims. This is no longer just a conspiracy theory.
This is a photo taken in Jeffrey Epstein's Manhattan townhouse. It seems to show a doctor performing a medical procedure on Mr. Epstein's dining room table. We looked through about 15,000 records from the Epstein files to understand how Jeffrey Epstein cultivated and rewarded a small circle of doctors as a means of control over the women in his orbit. Mr. Epstein dictated when these women got plastic surgery, even when they went to the gynecologist. And he could also take medical care away. In some cases, you also see the doctors help Jeffrey Epstein maintain that control over these women's lives. Here's one really striking example. Jeffrey Epstein is flying back from his island in the Virgin Islands to New York with a young woman who has suffered a really serious injury. He reaches out to somebody named Eva Dubin, former girlfriend of his, and the founder of the Dubin Breast Center at Mount Sinai. And he says, this woman fell off the ATV and needs stitches in her forehead. Can you organize? She responds, okay, Jess Ting, a plastic surgeon at Mount Sinai, is standing by. Call me as soon as you land. And then you see the next day from Jeffrey Epstein, Dr. Ting put 35 stitches in her head, laid out on the dining room table.
This is where the story takes a horrifying turn. Joe Rogan isn't the first person that has tried to expose Ellen. Two of Ellen's closest friends both decided to turn on her and expose her to the world. But before they could do anything, they were both allegedly taken out. When the Epstein files first came out, Ellen announced she was shutting down her show. This was so she could escape the spotlight. Even though her show had been shut down, there were still people who had evidence against her. In the months following the closure of The Ellen Show, these whistleblowers started to die. 3 months after The Ellen Show shut down, Anne Heche, Ellen's ex-girlfriend, ends up dying in a freak accident. Coincidentally, this accident happened around the same time that Anne Heche was working on a documentary called The Silent Children that was going to expose a global child trafficking ring.
By understanding how human trafficking really works, you can make a difference in the life of someone at risk.
Ambulance, that's some sort of sign, but yes. So basically the activity that we were looking for, that anxious or that quick moving, that was going on the other side of the vehicle. Oh my gosh. He's completely alive.
What the hell?
In May 2002, the Ellen DeGeneres show was canceled, and then 2 months later, Anne Heche, Ellen's ex-girlfriend, was in a really bad car accident where she flew her Mini Cooper into someone's house and it caught fire. And what has never sat right with me is the cross comparison between the coroner's report and the actual aerial footage. The coroner's report says that she was unconscious until her death, after just from smoke inhalation and from being brain dead from the fumes in her brain. But if you look at the footage, she sits straight up, and that takes a conscious effort, I feel, but I'm not a scientist. I mean, I'm not a doctor. But the other thing is her other host, her co-host Twitch, died 4 months after that. And I just think that that's a suspicious amount of like close people around you dying in weird ways.
After Anne Heche's death, Stephen Twitch Boss, the co-producer on Ellen's show, Stephen Twitch Boss also ended up passing away by suicide in December of 2022, roughly 7 months after Ellen shut down. Twitch left her a note before his death, where he allegedly mentioned his time on The Ellen Show being a huge source of burden that was forcing him to take this extreme step.
We're learning more tonight about the tragic side of Stephen Twitch Boss and the detailed steps he took to hide his plans. TMZ is reporting when Twitch left his home the day before he took an Uber to a motel about a mile away. At the motel, he switched his phone to airplane mode so no one could reach him. The motel manager says he checked in under his own name and never left his room. We also now know that Twitch left a suicide note. Details have not been made public, but TMZ reports the note alluded to challenges Twitch had faced in the past. Entertainer Tyler Perry knows firsthand what that is like.
I want to take you back to a time in my life where I tried to commit suicide a couple of times because it was so dark. I thought the only way to make this better, this pain go away, is stay in my life. Had any of those attempts happened, I would have missed the best part of my life.
Finally, with no one to directly link her to Epstein, Ellen announced she was leaving for the UK forever. This announcement came around the same time as it was announced that Ghislaine Maxwell was being shifted to a minimum security prison following a meeting with the current Attorney General. The question here is, what did Ghislaine Maxwell say during this meeting that got her a nicer cell?
Ellen DeGeneres and her wife, Portia de Rossi, have reportedly fled the US, bound for the UK, after Donald Trump's landslide victory. Numerous publications are reporting the couple have left the United States permanently. There are also reports the couple have put their Montecito mansion on the market. Entertainment publication The Wrap has the exclusive story and said, Ellen DeGeneres and wife Portia de Rossi have moved to rural England, put their Montecito estate on the market, and plan to never return to the United States, telling friends the election of Donald Trump was their primary motivation. Ellen DeGeneres has been a vocal Trump critic, so the move doesn't come as a surprise to most.
You're really bad. If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be?
Does one of us have to come out alive?
Ghislaine Maxwell wasn't just transferred to a better prison. According to CNN, Maxwell was granted special privileges inside the prison and isn't even required to stay in her cell. Multiple inmates from the same prison have reported that they aren't allowed to speak to the process about Ghislaine.
CNN has learned that Ghislaine Maxwell has been getting special treatment inside of a minimum security prison in Texas, where she's currently serving 20 years for child trafficking. Sources who are familiar with Maxwell's life inside prison tell us that she has unlimited access to toilet paper, for example. The typical inmate gets just 2 rolls per week. At one point, she was getting her meals and mail delivered to her cell. She's also been allowed to use the chaplain's office inside the chapel for guests visiting outside of visitation hours. And Maxwell's arrival at this prison has really had a chilling effect on the other inmates there. We're told that the warden at the prison had a town hall where she basically told all the inmates, do not talk about Maxwell. And one inmate who did talk to a reporter was reprimanded and sent out of Bryan to a higher security prison. And we are told that this kind of thing has happened to several other inmates. The Bureau of Prisons tells CNN that this is not special treatment, but necessary treatment, given how high profile Maxwell is and the threats that have been made to Maxwell's life.
Ghislaine was central to Epstein's operation, and she's the one who was in charge of recruiting more victims for Epstein's sadistic goals. It makes sense for Ellen to be scared of Ghislaine because Ghislaine is the last person with evidence against her. Ghislaine likely came into contact with all of Epstein's suppliers. If Ellen was involved, Ghislaine can use this against her. Ellen's arrest could have a domino effect on the whole industry. Minors being taken advantage of is extremely common in Hollywood. Despite how it might seem that things are getting better, the truth is that the industry has just gotten better at covering up their crimes.
Hollywood managers who manage kids, it's a racket, man.
Did you hear that kid from
They're
Strange...
just grooming these kids, dude.
That
These
kid
grooming
from
them
Strange Things?
to
or
suck their dick.
Stranger
Things.
He just left his manager, and they're alleging sexual abuse. They just left their agent. See if you can find that. Owen Benjamin.
The curly-haired kid. Oh,
yeah.
and he's
Owen
in
Benjamin just put it on his Instagram today because Owen has been taking a lot of heat online because he said that a 3-year-old kid shouldn't be transgender, and people giving him a hard time saying he's a bigot. Like, are you out of your fucking mind? When
What's
you're
up with this transgender shit?
Stranger Things actor dropped agent because of accused of sexual assault. Disney star follows suit. Jesus Christ. This is nuts,
Watch
man.
an Open Secret, and they go through, dude, they're accusing people. It's for free, I think, on Vimeo.
Yeah, you
can watch it for free. An Open Secret.
Just on YouTube or something?
On Vimeo.
You know what Sturgill Simpson told me? He said the same thing exists in music.
What?
He said in music there's a bunch of pedos and pedos
For sure.
in music as well.
The entertainment business all the way through. Music. This was about. This is about music and movies and TV. It's about the whole entertainment business.
Women and kids.
Mostly
get abused.
kids.
And
Mostly
sometimes
kids.
Dudes. You know, Terry Crews said that he was attacked. Well, not attacked. Some dude grabbed his
dick in front of his
some
wife.
famous dude grabbed his dick.
The suppliers and criminals don't care about anyone but themselves, and that's why they're so dangerous. All of these celebrities are wearing masks. The only difference between them and Ellen is that Ellen's mask slipped off. Joe Rogan said that Hollywood elites treat you like you're beneath them.
There's an arrogance that some stars had, like particularly in the 90s. When I first came to Hollywood, and this is like really evident for me because I was not a star, but I was on a television show. So I got to be around a lot of stars. And there was a way that some of them would treat you. They would let you know that you are subhuman. You are below them. They would communicate with you in the most disrespectful and dismissive ways, like weird, like mousy guys that I could kill, like instantly, and they would just be rude to you in a really weird way because they had power. They had power, and then when an executive would come over, they would turn on the charm. They'd be smiling and laughing, and then you would talk to them at the craft service, and they would fucking dismiss you in the shit ways. I encountered a bunch of that.
Yeah.
It was commonplace, and it was, I think, a thing that they aspired to, especially a lot of the guys that came from Saturday Night Live.
Part of this is why Ellen was able to get away with so much for so long. Back in 2015, paparazzi managed to sneak non-consensual, intimate pictures of Justin Bieber as he was going to his hotel room naked. At the time, Justin was 21 and Ellen was 58. Ellen shared these images for the whole world to see and laughed at Justin. Let's not forget how Ellen is also coincidentally friends with every criminal that gets exposed. The only reason that Ellen has managed to get away with everything so far is because Ghislaine has been covering up for her. But now that Ghislaine is ready to speak out in exchange for her release, all these criminals are in trouble. The cover-up of these crimes has been going on for decades, but now it's all finally coming to an end, almost 30 years later.
It was 1996, and she was the very first victim to officially report Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell to the authorities. But in a pattern that would be set in the decades ahead, her complaint was ignored.
They just kept it all quiet, put it in the bottom drawer. And they were so dismissive that I just felt daunted and I stopped.
But by going to police, Maria felt the full force of Maxwell's fury. Terrified, Maria went into hiding and gave up her art career. What sort of threats has she made against you?
Originally, it started with things like, I'm gonna burn your art, and then I'm gonna burn your career, and then I'm gonna burn you and the house you live in. And then it was, oh, be careful crossing a street. You know, you can get shot in the back of the head. You know, they were threats against my life. And I told the FBI this.
Do you reflect on how different life would be for so many women today if the FBI had investigated your complaints in 1996?
Yeah. I think about it all the time. I do. And it hurts a lot. And I never had children because of it. Because I didn't feel like they would be safe.
What do you think? Are these connections meaningful? Or are people reading too much into coincidences and speculation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future uploads. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.